all the world's a stage.
And all the men and women merely players.
They have their exits and their entrances.
And one man in his time plays many parts.
And this is the hardest part I have ever played.
These are the voyages of the USS Boudica.
Poor fellow.
All right, poor fellow indeed, and welcome everyone to episode 3, Dark Knight Dreams of Star Trek Mell. This is a Star Trek Adventures actual play run by myself and 5 really cool people who I consider my friends. Some of them don't consider me their friend. I'm looking at you, Matthew, but he puts up with me because of how amazing the other 4 folks here are. And that's where we're at. But we're going to go around the table. We're going to have everyone introduce themselves, quickly introduce their character. And then finally, we have a introduction. We have an opening log from one of our players who's going to be Josonoman, but not just him. Maybe some voices in his mind. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But let's go Matthew, Alex, C4A, Adrillian, and Josonoman. Let's have everybody introduce themselves, and then we'll dive right into it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew. I play the captain of the USS Boudica, a female Vulcan, female Vulcan Betazoid hybrid on her first command.
Well, my name is Alex. I'm playing Commander Rin, the ship's acting chief engineer, the joined Trill.
Hi, I am C4A, and I am playing Commander Mitchell, the first officer. She is a joined Trill and Betazoid hybrid.
Hi, I'm Julian. I play Commander Samina Velia, human Starfleet intelligence officer of the Boudica.
I go by Fizbo. I'm playing Commander Josonoman, science officer, and a member of the Evora species, and currently occupied by something.
Yeah, allegedly occupied by something, allegedly. And of course, I am Dear Wolf, the Game Master, pleased as punch to be here. But without further ado, let's hear from Commander Josonoman, his opening personal log.
Science Officer's Log, Stardate 512-364.43. The time since my last entry has been eventful, to say the least. The Boudica is transporting an important Vulcan diplomat, Valam Tamu, on a mission of peace. Save me! Save me! Unfortunately, there are those who oppose our actions and oppose the diplomat's existence. Some unknown terrorist or terrorists made an attempt on his life by altering the parameters of a holodeck program he was meditating in. It very nearly succeeded. Luckily, our brilliant engineering staff were able to force an emergency shutdown of the holodeck system, as well as most of the others. Consequently, 5 of my 14 experiments have been compromised, including Operation Jitterless Americano Vitality and Entiphalangistic, which had recently shown promise despite my cardiac event. We do have at least 2 suspects, a red-headed human woman, first encountered by me, masquerading as a Starfleet captain, and an Andorian male in the guise of her first officer. Remember the past! Their true forms and motivations remain suspect. What we do know about them is that they are profoundly dangerous. Since I first encountered her, the damage they've caused is significant. There were elemental shifting energy devouring devices, what the crew have been colloquially referring to as black boxes, for want of a more accurate name pending analysis, which resulted in a temporal incursion, which, once it had ceased, took entire sections of the Boudica with it, primarily in decks 7 and 3. There were calls to return to space dock for urgent repairs, but they were shouted down. Also, during the incursion, we had a run-in with a ship, crewed either entirely by holograms, clones, or an improbably prodigious set of tredecaplets. In more minor news, I appear to have been possessed by some sort of purportedly Q-level hive-mind consciousness. Trust no one! Trust must be earned! When attempting to remove one of the black boxes, I was enveloped by a black substance, which was able to override my executive function and cause me to black out and attack several of my crewmates. none fatally, much to my relief. Consequently, none of this log can be considered reliable, and all claims made therein must be independently verified. Truthfully, I do not know if I am even recording a log, or if I am even alive. I'm much better at math, though, which I hope to retain if and when I am able to disconnect from the alien consciousness. According to Tamu, this entire escapade was an elaborate trap for the entity, with the Boudica being the bait and I the unfortunate guinea pig, to borrow a human phrase from my instructor at the academy. Help the Forgotten! One of these side effects is that I keep hearing voices, all of them making confusing demands. As of yet, I've been able to mostly ignore them, but I can feel my mental fortitude eroding. If I do not improve forthwith, I will be of little use to Captain Hagen or anyone else. Josonoman signing off.
Well played. That was really good. Loved it. Really, really good job. You may have 2 momentum for that, crew. You may have 2 momentum for that delightful and jarring opening log. Jarring. It was beautiful, beautiful. But we open our scene with a moment. Our first opening scene is in the conference room of the Boudica, and this is a day, maybe 2 days post the events of last episode. And the reason that it's 2 days is there's been some repairs that need to be done. Although the ship's power was returned, it wasn't fully functional. You could only achieve warp 2. And this distress signal that you received from the Admiral on the Klingon Federation border has continued to play. So there is something going on. But again, it is an automated distress signal that is continuing to play. You have had no actual communication with the Admiral and her flagship or the group of ships you were supposed to meet with, the flotilla. But we open our scene with everyone in the conference room, and I will leave the scene to the 5 of you.
So I think that the captain is surveying the rest of the crew as they're settling in, and she has a mug of hot chocolate or of hot cocoa in front of her, takes a sip, turns over to Commander Mitchell. Well, Commander, now that we're all here and, we've been able to take some time out of repair schedules, I think we need a report from all the department heads. First, how is the crew holding up? They've been subjected to unconscionable stresses, the assault on the ship, the declaration of war, apparently. Anything to report?
That is correct, Captain. Overall, morale has been lowered. There are, as you know, 23 missing crew members who we are still looking into if they were ever actually here or just holograms. But for other crew members who had befriended them in their short time on board, they, of course, have been hit quite hard by their loss. Other reports are coming in. Shifts have been adjusted, and I believe just everyone is doing as best as can be expected, Captain.
Thank you, Commander. I appreciate your attention to the duty rosters and the necessary modifications that have to be made. War weariness, if this is a protracted conflict, is doubtlessly going to set in, and the fact that we've lost so many of our crew already, despite the mysterious circumstances, is only going to exacerbate that problem. Anything else to report?
Negative, Captain.
Rin, status of the ship?
I feel it's my obligation to say I fully believe we need to head back to space dock to really get repairs. The situation on deck 7, we essentially have a cube cut out of the internals of our ship. From the flooring of deck 8, you can look straight up and see the flooring of deck 6. That's over 50 meters of EPS conduits, ODN junction relays, subspace amplifier plates. We're not in any condition to last if we end in a stand-up fight with even a bird of prey.
How is the power drain keeping up force fields in between these decks and the open space?
They're holding. Thankfully, it's only very minor breaches on the hull plating, so it's not causing too large of a power strain.
Can we divert all the individuals who might be inhabiting those decks and, I suppose, seal them off entirely so that those sections can't be accessed? Rather than using force fields and the energy, can we just lock them down manually?
So we could erect the bulkheads, get everyone out of there. It will crowd the rest of the ship. We're talking essentially about 3 whole decks, sections of that will be inaccessible. That includes several science labs, several tactical substations. It's doable, but again, I don't think staying out here is our best choice of action, given the state of our ship.
And at that, the captain just sort of frowns slightly, and she's going to reach over to the pad that's next to her. And then over the intercoms, you hear that distress call from the Admiral playing once again on repeat, that request for assistance.
Unfortunately, Captain, we are the closest ship to the Admiral, and she is in need of our help.
Precisely, Commander. I'm not going to leave them out there if there's the slightest chance that we can help them.
This seems like something we should have done already, but we did confirm it was legitimate, correct?
And I'm going to turn over to Velia. Commander?
GM, is it legit?
That's a great question. You know what? In all the chaos and everything that's gone on, you haven't bothered to check. But this would be a great time for you to use some of those Starfleet intelligent credentials to check for authenticity. Let's just have you make a insight and security difficulty of 2. You do have 2 momentum as well.
Mm-hmm.
Insight, security.
Definitely take one of those momentum.
I'll take one then.
It's a great idea.
Do I have any focuses? Starfleet operations?
I would say yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Ooh, nice. 1 momentum right back. Beautiful. The good news is that they're legitimate. They're absolutely legitimate. This is a legitimate distress call. Legitimate distress call. The bad news is that something, and I'm going to describe this to you, Velia. You've been in Starfleet intelligence for a long time. You know the processes. You are a walking encyclopedia when it comes to Starfleet protocol, actions, etc. Why would the Admiral send out an automated distress call on repeat? If it was as bad as it sounds, why would she send it as such? Why would she not do a broadcast? Why would she not send it back to it? Just something about it feels off to you. All the credentials are right. Everything seems legitimate, but something about the means and the way in which it was sent just doesn't feel right. There's that pit in your stomach that just, it's like whenever something is off, you get this pit. That's what you're feeling right now.
So it is legit, but it doesn't seem right. It is the captain. It was sent, or it was the Admiral. It was sent from her ship, but it's not really how it's supposed to be done. I could theorize that maybe she pre-recorded it and would only have sent it in an event of extreme emergency. So maybe she sent it before, let's say, she blew up, so then the signal got sent. That seems very unlikely. I don't know how. That's like worst case scenario. I am tempted to think that she could be captured and someone made her record this and it was sent out, or someone modulated her voice and sent it from her ship. There's a lot of possibilities, but it's official, but it's not.
What should she have sent?
it should have been a broadcast, like emergency line, everyone gets a feed. It could have
Let me just
been-
elaborate if I may, Velia. This
Yeah.
was only far enough sent. You're the only ship in range that could have received it. It does not broadcast far
Oh.
enough. And I didn't elaborate on that correctly, so forgive me, but I want to give this information. It did not broadcast far enough to reach Starfleet Command, to reach other ships that may be close but not as close as you. It was simply sent just far enough to where you're the only ship that could receive it. It's all legit. It's all on the up and up. But it was only broadcast far enough that your ship, because of its location and proximity to the border and where the flotilla was supposed to be, are the only ship that would have picked it up.
Follow-up question on that.
Please.
Would the Admiral have the ability to send it farther?
Yes.
Okay.
You're guaranteed she would. Yes.
Okay.
Great question.
There's also the curiosity that she only sent it as far as we could reach it, and no one, unless someone else was as far as us or closer to her than us, no one else would have received this message. So she would have broadcasted that to the entire fleet.
So it's a trap. Just like
It's a trap.
what the ambassador attempted to lay for us and that waylaid us.
It
That
being
is
a
highly likely.
trap does not necessarily mean that the Admiral didn't actually send it and isn't being coerced and he's actually needing rescue.
That
But
is
it is still a trap.
There's a lot of possibilities. And I've thought of 20 more already, but I'll save those for my reports to send to you later, Captain.
I look forward to reading it, Commander. Thank you.
With that information, that's all the more reason in my mind that we should not be rushing it head first in the condition our ship is in. We don't even have full long-range sensors with the missing sections of our ship right now.
Is there any way that we can supplement it with the use of various different transmission buoys and probes, get some kind of indication as to what might be in that region before we enter it?
We might be able to send and modify some probes and relay information back. We might, I dare say, sacrifice a shuttlecraft as bait, as we ourselves were.
We seem to be down a few shuttles already.
Barring the
fair,
ability to get that information out quickly, what do we know about that area currently? Any friendly species? Anyone maybe we could reach out to? Maybe a bargain, so we're not going entirely alone?
Josonoman, that is a great question. And I'm going to elaborate. It's actually something that you might actually be aware of, being the science officer, being someone who knows stellar cartography and all that good stuff. This area of space is a neutral ground, or at least it was. It's devoid of any planets, any real solar systems in that area. It's just open space. And it was picked because of its neutrality for this meeting. So there's no one else that would be there that you could reach out to, unfortunately. However, Josonoman, in this moment, you are getting that tingling feeling you get in the back of your neck that kind of travels up right into the back of your mind, and you start to hear that whispered voice again. This time it's actually in Klingon. And do you speak Klingon by chance? Obviously, we have universal translators, but does Josonoman speak it? So you just hear an angry Klingon screaming at you in your head. They sound so angry right now. Just bloodthirsty screams of just rage, terror. It only lasts
Would I
for
be
about
able
3
to
seconds.
repeat it?
Yeah, it's in your mind. You could repeat it. Yeah.
Okay. Unprompted, and I don't have time to explain what I'm doing. I just begin shouting in Klingon.
And everyone would understand. Yes, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
And I don't know if they're able to understand that, if I was able to repeat it accurately.
They were. Yeah, it's not a full translation, but you're able to understand some of it. And the phrase in which he screams over and over and over is the phrase "Dark Night Dreams." There is no light. Dark night dreams. The terror of the fight. Dark night dreams. And it just screams this over and over again in Klingon for about 15 seconds. He gets about 3 to 4 renditions in, and then returns to himself.
Commander, are you well?
Yeah, I'm fine. How are you?
Would that phrasing be familiar to Velia at all? Anything in any records that she'd be aware of that that's referring to?
So, give us a insight and security, difficulty of 3. You do have 2 momentum.
Well, I don't think I have any focuses. I'm gonna take one of those momentum if you guys don't mind.
Go ahead.
Body language and mannerisms, perhaps?
GM? As a focus, body language / mannerisms.
You know what? Sure, why not?
Okay, I didn't think you'd go for that.
You know what? I love it. Nice.
Yay!
There you go. That's a success. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. You didn't even need it. You didn't even need it. So it goes back to some of your time at the academy, Velia. And at one point you took a class on Klingon poetry. And this is actually a line from a famous, relatively famous Klingon poem about dying without honor, dying of old age, dying without the thrill of the fight, without proving yourself to yourself and to your kin, to your family. This is about dying. It's a nightmare. It's a poem about a nightmare. And yeah, that's what you remember about it.
Velia
I hate
will
you, Matthew. That's funny.
recall
Exactly what I was thinking too.
Rising up, I'm back on the Klingon. I'm done. Sorry.
Took your
Velia
chances.
will recall that poem, and kind of make the snide comment. Perhaps your little friend isn't happy with itself and seems kind of upset. Trying to see if she'll trigger it again. No? Okay.
Commander, have you reported to sickbay for your daily checkup? She's looking over at Josonoman.
Have I?
You tell me.
Well, what is it? First thing in the morning?
It's midday every day.
It's midday. I imagine I would have done it more right after I woke up. In fact, I imagine I would have been strong-armed into going the second I woke up. So yes, I believe I have.
All right, excellent.
And your condition has not deteriorated? Cortical probes still read as normal?
Except for the occasional outburst, I appear to be what we refer to as stable.
Glad to hear it, Commander. Well, don't all talk at once. Surely you have some opinions about our trip to the border or other avenues we can take. What about astrological phenomenon? If we think that there's a trap waiting for us, a flotilla of Klingon ships, are there any nebula that we can use to conceal our approach? And she's actually going to sort of activate the holographic imaging system and bring up a map of the region that we'll be entering into. Are there any substantial or notable features of this area of space that we should be aware of? Are there things that might be, relevant to setting a trap for us as we are approaching it?
There is the Horami cluster, the giant nebula. In fact, what I'll do for y'all is I'll actually move you over to known space so you guys can get a quick little peekarooski of known space.
From what I remember, I believe within the sector there's supposed to be an old decommissioned K-class station.
Not like that one that, was feeding resources to Sherman's planet that Kirk landed on.
I believe so.
Well, those are classic.
Yeah, I hate to think of, if a trap was laid there, it'd be just a waste of example of classic engineering.
So, GM, what is it that's significant about this Harami cluster, and can you point out where that distress call is coming from?
So the distress call is coming from right here by buoy 7. This is where everyone was supposed to be. And what I'll do for your purposes is I will draw a little tiny white circle right on the Klingon border. Skadoop. That is where the distress call is coming from. The reason I mentioned the Harami cluster is because it is the largest stellar phenomenon, the largest stellar place thing that's going on, as it were, that is relatively close. It's not very close, but it's relatively close. And it is a great place to lay a trap, or perhaps to hide the Boudica and take a shuttle out from. There's options at that point.
Commander Josonoman, what do you know about that Harami cluster? Do you think that it might provide us cover for our approach?
Unless I'm misreading the map, it's a little far to provide much adequate cover, except for if we wanted to hide the entire Boudica away and send out smaller parties and shuttles, or if we wanted to maybe send a series of probes. We could certainly hide the ship there very easily, but as far as being able to use it tactically, we'd have to pull them into it, and it's pretty far at impulse. I think they would at least have to be pursuing us at warp, and considering the damage to the ship, I don't know how many hits we want to risk to pull them into a trap. Hypothetically, I suppose we could use shuttles as bait and pull them in. That area is rich with explosive gases and all sorts of things we could do to trick sensors, and it'd be tremendous if we can get them there.
I think with Rin looking at the holographic display that's pulled up and seeing the relatively close location of Starbase 24, have we heard anything from that starbase?
Big question. You haven't bothered to send any signals out to the starbase, but it would be something that you could very easily do here and expect a response back very quickly.
Given that we are further away from the source of the distress call than is Starbase 24, is it possible that we could, I guess, liaise with them or contact them and see if the message has reached them as well?
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. Do you all do that?
I think so, yes.
Brilliant. So
if we can do that.
A signal is sent out. It's the future. Things go pretty quick. And you send out that signal as you would, requesting a substation communique from them. It should only take a few moments to return. And you get nothing. No response. As though the signal went out and hit nothing. There's no acknowledge of receipt. It's just it goes out, hits nothing, no response.
Can we test whether that's on our end or at the starbase by pinging any?
You know for a fact that your communication systems are functioning optimally. It's not on your end.
Have we tried other frequencies?
You cycle through multiple frequencies and you get nothing. No response, no acknowledge of receipt. It's as though the starbase just simply does not exist.
Can we try to ping Starbase 343?
You may.
And do we get a standard generic response? Or?
You do.
Would they have received the message?
No, they have not received any message. If you ask for information from them. They've received no distress signal from either Starbase 24 or from the border.
What class of ship was the Admiral's vessel?
It was a Galaxy.
We asked 343 when was the last time they had heard from 24. What number that was?
24.
Okay, cool.
3 days.
And we received the Admiral's message how long ago?
2 days.
Just yesterday? 3 days?
ago.
2 days. Okay.
Would it be worth considering asking one of the friendly planets nearby to send a message on our behalf, or would that be too large of a risk to expose us? Just to see if there is anyone else who can reach.
Was that an in-character question or to the GM? Sorry.
That was an in-character question.
Oh, okay.
That was a question to you.
What are the status of the colonies and planets along the border? The systems around Prometheus and the like.
Is that a question to the Game Master?
That is a question to you,
The
GM.
Game Master, all right.
Yes.
They are lots of trading posts, a few military installations, but it's mostly been peaceful between the Klingons and the Federation for a long time. So a lot of, again, trading outposts, locations of, immigrants back and forth over the border. But, all of them are relatively peaceful. And, but nothing, like there's no real military installations or anything like that. Is there a specific question about, what kind of facilities are there? What you should expect, the people? As far as the people go, it's a mixture. It's a melting pot. You've got Klingons, you've got Vulcans, you've got humans, you've got all different manners of species that live on these planets. Yeah.
In essence, are they independent colonies, Federation colonies, joint ventures
Everyone
between
on
the
this
Klingons?
side, it's either Federation or a joint venture. If it's right up along the border where you have that neutral zone, it's usually a joint venture. If it's just a little bit in, it's a Federation venture.
Then, Commander Josonoman, I think it might be wise to contact the Prometheus system and see if they've been able to acquire any telemetry from vessels in their region. It concerns me that Starbase 24 is silent.
It concerns me as well. We can certainly send a message, and I can work on consolidating the information we get back for them, if any, with our existing astrometrics.
Speaking of information that you've been able to consolidate, have you investigated the chronometric readings from the bizarre Prometheus class or the section of Miranda that was spliced into our vessel? Or have you been concerned with your own medical difficulties, which is fully understandable, rest assured?
If we've had 3 days, I assume, GM, that I would have by now.
Yeah.
But I assume I'll have to roll for what I got.
What would you have liked to have investigated first, Josonoman?
The black boxes, and I would have completely ignored anything related to me because I don't want to think about it. So I would have focused entirely on the things that happened to the ship.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
I'd like to add that I think in terms of investigating the black boxes, Rin probably would have assisted with that.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do this. Why don't we do a quick little flashback to you guys investigating this? You both can have a quick scene to yourselves. I think would be interesting if everyone's all right with that. So we flash back to Astrometrics, which is a very, very powerful science facility. And we see Josonoman and the good Rin together inside of Astrometrics, researching into these black boxes. And where would you all like to begin?
Are they still constantly changing their...
So you only have the one. You only have the one black box that Rin managed to take, and it's been inert, at least for the last couple of days, the last day and a half or so.
Now that it's inert, what does it register as?
So it registers as, strangely enough, obsidian glass.
That is extremely odd. Obsidian glass. Can I determine its planet of origin, obsidian glass?
That is a great question. Here's the thing about obsidian glass. Usually it fractures, it splinters. It was used in flint knapping to make spearheads, things of that nature. It should be impossible to create a smooth, not down to the microscopic level. This obsidian glass is anatomically flat. The flattest, smoothest surface. Have you ever seen those metal pieces that are laser cut? You can slide them in, and when it slides in, it looks completely smooth. That is what this glass is like. It is completely smooth, devoid of any sort of oddities, cracks, crumbles, nothing. Smooth to touch. It's almost slippery with how smooth it is. But you can try to identify where it's from. Why don't you go ahead and give us a Insight Science, difficulty of 3.
Can I apply xenoseismology to this?
Yeah, that's a great one. I love that. Almost like you came prepared for this, Josonoman. And how is Commander Rin helping in this moment? What are you guys talking about? Are you just sitting there busy with your work? Are you discussing anything as you're researching this? What's the situation?
I think in this particular case, Rin really doesn't know too much about, geology or natural formations or anything of the sort. But he's, from his experience with the way it was interacting with the power systems earlier, kind of curious about, that particular aspect of it, what its, electrical coefficients are now that it's inactive.
Yeah, I love that. Why don't you give it insight engineering to assist? Insight engineering to assist. Just roll 1 die. See what happens. I have faith. And what kind of focuses do you have?
The only one I could possibly think, again, going to that electrical coefficient, is power generation systems.
I'll allow it. I like it. Oh, there it is. There's your 3. There's the 3 that you needed. There's the 3 you needed. Rin coming through in the clutch. I love it. So, you are researching Josonoman. You're looking into where could it have been from. You check. You start with Earth. Doesn't match any of the anatomicals, collections of Earth. You start researching into, Vulcan and to Romulus. You just start looking at all of the different known planets that you can think of. Where it could have come from? You start with planets that have, heavy magma flow. You start with even some planets that aren't Class M. You start looking everywhere, and the computer is just busy at work researching, and it keeps coming back with unknown, 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 unknown. And you get through it, and you come to the realization that it's not from this galaxy. It doesn't match any known formulations of glass that would be created. It should be impossible for obsidian glass to form naturally like this, or even to be worked to such a precision. It would crack, it would break. But if it's alien, if it's not from this galaxy, perhaps things work a little differently there. Who knows? That's maybe where your mind starts to travel to. But now, Commander Rin, with your check to assist, what you discover is you are researching, looking into how it was drawing power. This glass is highly conductive. It's currently inert. It's not active right now, but it is highly conductive. And perhaps you take a small device and hit it with an electrical shock. As you do so, the glass itself seems to become porous, seems to almost move more akin to liquid, just in that small section. It's a tiny, almost like a little static shock that you do. But then it returns back once the power is removed from it. That's like nothing you've ever seen inside of this galaxy.
I think with that, Rin's gonna kind of turn his head to look over towards Josonoman. I've never come across anything with properties like this before, and I've had lifetimes to come across something.
I've read about things like this, certainly when I was in the academy. If this is extragalactic, that we only know about a few cultures that have ever come through the barrier, and we know almost nothing about them. So this could be from 99.99 repeating of space outside of the galaxy, which is a bit too broad for our computer to narrow it down beyond that. I guess we can rule out the Klingons.
Probably safe to say. I wonder, have you looked into if there's any residual chronoton radiation coming off of it? Did it?
I can now.
Yeah, I want to know, with everything that happened, did it come back from wherever that Prometheus came from?
Or is it possible that the chronoton incursion was a result of the way it just operates, and we've just never seen anything that works this way? And its side effect, its wake, is time distortion.
I think it's worth looking into.
So if I understand, you'd like to check the readings from the sensors on the Prometheus class as compared to the readings from this black cube. Is that right? The black box?
Yes.
I love it. I love it. So Commander Josonoman, as the Chief of Science Officer, you do get one free question during certain narrations. Would you like to use that as your free question, or would you like to roll for it? It's up to you.
I'm going to save it for the next... I feel like in this flashback is I'm going to use it, but I'm not going to use it yet.
Okay.
If I may, just to clarify that, you can use it anytime you make a scan, basically, with the tricorder or the sensors.
Oh, I can use it, so I can use it repeatedly during the scene?
I thought it was only one per scene. If I'm incorrect...
It's one free question anytime you use the scanners to make a scan, either ship sensors or a tricorder.
Perfect. Anytime you make a scan. Perfect.
Well, in that case...
Go for it. Yeah, have at it.
Yeah, I would like to know the answer to the very complicated question Ren and I just posed.
That is a great question. I think you should roll for it. No, I'm kidding. Damn you, Matthew. Foiling my plans. No, that's actually a great one. Right. So what you discover is that the readings, the chronoton readings, they match the same kind of readings of this Prometheus. The Prometheus itself, the readings that you have from the ship's sensors and the logs, seem to indicate that that ship is obviously out of time. As you start to correlate and cross-reference everything, this black cube and the Prometheus, imagine there's like a triangle and you're trying to find where they intersect. You know, you're like doing some, I don't know.
Trigonometry?
Exactly, some trigonometry. That's what I was going to say, and my brain just turned off, but you're doing some trigonometry, right? You look at the timeline, you look at all the dilations, and you realize that all of them, both the ship and this black box, and the little readings you have from some of the other black boxes, they all intersect during a specific week or so time within just a little bit of like variance during a time of the Dominion War. Now, I've been saying the Cardassian War in some of the other episodes, and I apologize. I've meant the Dominion War, so it all coincides during the Dominion War. Now, you can do some research into what transpired during this particular 3 to 5 days during that time, but that would require some additional rolls.
Without rolling, where is it in the war? Like, what is the start date? Like, is it near the end? Is it near the beginning?
It is near the beginning of the war.
Okay. Yeah, I'll absolutely do some historical research, but I think we should probably finish analyzing this and then do that, because that's not going to change.
Cool. Commander Rin, what are you looking into during this scene as well? Like, what else do you want to investigate?
I think, coming back with, everything cross-referencing, and it kind of coincides to early days of the Dominion War. Obviously, he would help with that when the time comes, probably using, his own experience and his previous host that served during it. Um, but I'm not sure if there's anything else he'd actually be looking into in this particular moment with this black box.
Perfect. I want to give you a chance, obviously, to be in the scene as well. But Josonoman, if you want to press on a little bit with this scene, I think that's fine.
I'm curious if I can determine how this box interacts with some of the other primary forces. Is it being affected by gravity? Is it being affected by nuclear decay? I am curious about the fundamental building blocks of things that exist, matter in our galaxy, and if it's being affected by those normally, or if it is still extragalactic in its nature.
I'm going to give you a simple answer to that question. It is extragalactic in its nature. It seems to exist inside of its own little cube, as it were. And outside forces, other than electricity or power, don't seem to interact with it at all. So
Gravity?
obviously, gravity, like it'll sit on the ground, etc.
Okay.
It doesn't float in the air, but it seems to choose what it wants to affect. And I hesitate to use the word choose, but it seems as though in this moment, it's accepting that gravity exists in this moment. That's what you're getting, because it's like gravity shouldn't be affecting it, because it's like almost like it doesn't exist in this point in space. It exists outside of it, but the cube is choosing to sit where it's at.
See, I think that, with all this kind of adding up, Rin has a couple ideas for things he wants to try with the cube.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't believe he would actually bring it up and tell Josonoman about it, considering the possession.
I love it.
Mr. Rin, I am hesitant to try out too many other potential experimental methods, considering this thing is not interacting with space and energy the way most other things do, and I cannot predict what will have explosive or destructive results either to itself or to us or the surrounding area beyond the scans we've already done. If you have any ideas that you think could be safeguarded, I welcome them.
I'll have to take some considerations, figure out what safeties might need to be taken, see what else I can kind of suss out with this device. I think until that time, it would probably be best to put back into quarantine.
I'm in agreement.
Perfect. And I think that's a great moment for us to pivot back to the conference room where Josonoman and Rin can fill the rest of the command staff in on what they've discovered.
I think the easiest thing is just they fill in the rest of the command staff on what we discovered.
I love that.
Just out of curiosity, no one here happens to be an expert on extragalactic incursions, are you? There's only one or two in recorded history, but I'm not an expert on them. I didn't know if maybe one of you taken an elective at the academy.
Captain just shrugs.
Didn't think so.
Unfortunately, my schedule was too full.
That doesn't surprise me, Commander. Ever dutiful, of course. Given what you've described, that she turns over to both Rin and then Josonoman in respectively, it almost seems as if you're corroborating the ambassador's story, that these things obey or disobey the laws of the universe as easily as the Q can change the gravitational constant of the universe. It's like they're pieces of some nigh omnipotent extra-dimensional being.
I'm not sure if I would go quite that far with it. But there is no denying that it's beyond Federation technology. I dare say it's beyond Borg technology.
You said like extra universal. It's probably not that far. It's extragalactic. There have been times when beings from beyond this galaxy have come into this space and they've had technology that was baffling to even the best. I believe there was one incursion of Deltans. I don't quite remember the name of the species, but when they're from outside our galaxy, they're beyond what we understand, at least to my knowledge.
And there was, of course, Kirk's encounter with God.
It happened to Kirk twice?
I think it's happened multiple times.
Okay, I don't remember that one. I'll have to. I don't remember that one, but.
Well, there was Apollo, and then there was the bearded man god in the Beyond the Galactic Barrier.
Oh, I forgot about Apollo. I was talking about the dodecahedron ones.
Those, right.
So 3 times then.
At least, yes.
Okay.
Didn't
Really
Kirk
wish I
like
got it.
fight Jesus? Like, isn't that in the canon, or is that? I don't know. Never mind. It's fine. We don't have to go down that line.
I wonder how embellished his logs had to have been for that to become common knowledge.
It's corroborated by Spock, and for all their faults, Vulcans are exceptional at keeping records. But speaking of Vulcans, and she's just going to turn over to Commander Mitchell, given that the ambassador continues to be rather reticent, although I hesitate to suggest it, Commander, and she just sort of arches an eyebrow.
Yes, Captain. I can speak with the ambassador again.
And she actually pauses and leans back in her chair. I will want to speak with you, Commander, after this meeting is dismissed.
Of course.
Any other questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions as to our next course of action?
Well, Rin and I need to talk about the timeline convergence we discovered while doing the analysis of the black box.
Of course, and that also requires investigation of the Miranda that was spliced into our own vessel, its identity, its crew, and its relationship to this captain, she says sort of dubiously. But Commander Villia, I believe that you might have had something to add on that.
Yes, as you're aware, I had sent off a report to Starfleet headquarters, and I am particularly expecting a reply regarding the distress signal imminently. Just wanted to give you a timeline on that.
Thank you, Commander. Given your contacts in Starfleet intelligence and your likely familiarity with some of the goings on in this sector, I'd like you, if you're willing, to begin launching an investigation into that Miranda class.
Yes, sir.
Why that? What was that ship doing that might have caused it to intersect with ours temporally? Why is it connected to the Prometheus? By crew, by subspace anomaly? If there's any record of it and anything that might shed light on the situation in the intelligence archives, I'd like to know it.
Will do.
Thank you. Anything else? Then I believe you all have your assigned duties. I will be heading to the bridge and setting a course for, sorry, GM, what was the name of that expanse?
Yes, the name of the expanse is, as the GM scrambles to pull up the map. Hold on. It was the Harami cluster.
For the Harami cluster. Dismissed.
As everyone shuffles out, I believe the captain mentioned he wanted to speak with the first officer for a brief moment. So I will leave the first officer and the captain together.
And Suri is just going to rise from her chair with that half-drunk mug of cocoa and put it back in the matter replicator to have it reclamated. And then turn off to the viewports to stare out at that blank void of space and those few tiny points of light. Commander, she says, not even looking at her, it's entirely possible that the ambassador is still withholding information from us that could imperil the ship.
That's true, Captain.
How far are you willing to go to get the information, if it exists?
Whatever it takes, sir. I'd say my controls are better managed than they used to be.
Then you understand what it is that I'm authorizing you to do.
I do.
I do want to make clear, however, that it's not an order.
Of course.
I couldn't order you to do it anyways. It would be illegal.
Mm.
We've lost 23 crew members, Commander. I don't want to lose any more. Yeah.
I understand. Perhaps I will ask the ambassador to speak with me just in an unofficial capacity.
Get him philosophizing. It seems to distract him. But Vulcan mental disciplines do render them almost impervious to telepathic interrogation.
Well, I will do my best and report my findings back.
There is one other matter, Commander, and she's going to turn and sag slightly. Do you know why I wanted you as my first officer?
I assumed you had read all of my records and recommendations from my previous captains.
Recommendations is an interesting way of putting it. I think the demerits speak of you as highly as do the praises that you've received.
Captain.
And she just smiles. You speak your mind. You tell people when they're wrong. And when you know they're wrong, even if they're of superior rank, that's something I can respect. And right now, I'm giving you permission to speak freely to do just that. How badly did I fuck up? Where did I go wrong?
Well, and with this, she also stands and will join the captain over by the window. It is what could be considered a team effort, Captain. As a Vulcan, it would have been in your, I guess, first intention to not delve any deeper than what would be just general surface thoughts. As Betazoid, it would generally be the same, as that is considered not as polite. However, I can say fairly confidently, and reading by the other logs of our other command staff, that this came out of nowhere, Captain. If you're asking, how did you, as you so colloquially say, fucked up, the blame is not on your shoulders alone.
I told the ambassador when he asked about fate or destiny that there's no such thing. There's only choice and consequence. Our choices led us here. In the end, because I'm captain, my choices led us here.
As a captain, you only worked with the information that you had currently at the time. If by some impossible way we could have known what we knew now, back then, of course, our choices would have been different. So, in that conclusion, you worked with what you had, sir.
You're sounding too much like a Vulcan. You know that, Mitchell?
Perhaps it's too much time spent with my captain, sir.
God, I hope not, because I certainly don't want to start sounding like a Vulcan either. And she straightens up. I appreciate it, Commander, despite the insult. And she sort of scratches at an ear slightly uncomfortably. You're dismissed.
And Mitchell will turn around and leave the room.
And as Mitchell leaves the room, we see the captain perhaps still staring out that viewport into the emptiness of space, those tiny pinpricks of light, just kind of glistening almost as the ship is moving slowly at warp 2. But I think that's a great place to take a quick 5 to 10 minute break, and then we will return with, I think our first scene is going to be, and now if I understand, Commander Velia and Commander Mitchell, you will be meeting with the Diplomat. Is that correct?
I think it was just Mitchell, but if she wants Velia there, Velia can definitely come along.
I'm hesitant about that just because of what she's about to do is not.
Think about it and let me know when we get back. When we get back from our break, you let me know.
Okay.
Everyone, please stick around. We will return here in roughly 10 minutes. And we're going to give everyone a quick chance to lift a leg and whatnot. But we will be right back, and thank you so much for watching. Stick around. And we're back. We're back, everyone. And thank you for waiting. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for still being here. But with that being said, we're going to open our scene post our intermission with Commander Mitchell having reached out to the Diplomat. And the Diplomat is actually in one of the large mess halls, the galleys, as it were. And you walk in through one of the sliding doors. To your right, you see the bar. There's a number of off-duty personnel there having a drink, having some meals, some replicated, some actually cooked aboard the vessel. The mood inside the room is... there's a lot of whispers. There's a lot of, what do you think happened? Where do you think they went? The whole section of the ship is missing. You really think that we should still be out here? Well, I heard Commander Rin's trying to get the captain to go back. I think we should leave. To hell with the admiral. This isn't our fight, etc., etc. You're also hearing some folks saying, "Oh, we should get over there. This is, we've got to stand up for the Starfleet, for the Federation." You're hearing all these little whispered conversations, but you see the Diplomat sitting at a booth by himself. The two booths, both behind him and in front of him, are absent. There's no one there. There's no one sitting in those booths. Who's kind of got this little area to himself. And as you look down at the table in front of him, as you're walking down, there's a little step that goes down into this area, and there's the view screens that you can see out into space. You see that he has not one, not two, but 3 drinks in front of him. One appears to be a tea. One appears to be a mug with something inside of it. You're not sure. And the other one is a tall blue drink with a little umbrella in it. And then he also has a small, half-eaten, what looks to be a sandwich of some sort with a kind of white and crumbly-looking material. It might be like tuna fish or chicken salad sandwich sitting on the table in front of him. And then he has a data pad. And he's just very absent-mindedly scrolling through whatever he is reading.
Let me get that map back up.
Sure.
As Mitchell is walking through the mess hall, she will, kind of stop by the few tables that have officers, just kind of gauge around
Commander,
the situation.
hello, ma'am. Yes, yes.
As you were.
They all shut up about whatever they're complaining about or whatever they're saying as you approach.
I mean, yeah, okay, I guess she'll just look at him and be like, "As you were," and continue towards the ambassador.
Sure, absolutely. And as you continue towards the ambassador, you get within, a few steps away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And the ambassador, without looking up from his datapad, says, "Commander, I was curious as to when you might seek me out. I suppose now is as good a time as any. May I offer you a beverage or something to drink?"
I see you've chosen a wide variety of what our replicators have to offer. I'm not quite familiar with that blue one.
He looks
What is
over at
it?
it. It is a Ryzen specialty. Something called the Blue Tides. It is more sweet than I am accustomed to.
Mm. A tea would be fine. Thank you. May I? And
He
Sure.
slides the tea that was in front of him across the table towards you, reaches towards the white mug, pulls it forward, and as you get close enough to smell the aromas, the tea is a very bland, dry, kind of herby smelling tea, almost flavorless. The middle drink is a rich and very dark chocolatey hot cocoa. And obviously the blue drink is some sort of alcoholic, sweet beverage. It's very sweet. You can tell it. So you've got this kind of flow from the bland that he passes to you to the kind of mid-range of this hot cocoa to this very sweet, tropical kind of drink, which you can see has only been just maybe not even a centimeter drink. It's just he tried it and said that's not for me.
So
But,
you're telling me he gave me one of his drinks that he's just been drinking. He's just like, I'm done with this. Here you go.
That is correct. He slid it across the table towards you.
She's gonna ask to sit across from him.
He motions, acknowledging.
And as she sits, she'll take the cup that he slid over and just kind of set it off to the side. How have you been faring these past few days, Ambassador?
Aside from having been threatened by one of the bridge crew, I'm faring quite well. Though I acknowledge it was not him that was threatening me, but rather that which inhabits his mind that was threatening me. I have been ensured, though, by Chief Medical Officer Clinton that he is in control of his faculties. Have you had much time to interact with Commander Josonoman?
We had a meeting just this morning.
And what are your impressions of his behavior, Commander Mitchell?
I haven't had the time to quite yet formulate an opinion. I do agree with the captain that he should have a guard at all times. However, I'm not sure whether he... Take back that last sentence. I don't know where I was going with that. I guess question to the DM. There would be cameras in sickbay, right? Did we check any of those to make sure, like, who's telling the truth here before?
Yeah, no. The Commander Josonoman threatened him. There was a phaser. It was all legit, all in the up and up. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And okay. I don't know what to ask him.
It's all right.
I don't know. As he's saying that, I guess, do I sense that he's telling the truth?
I love that this is where you go with this, C4A. This is great.
No,
you're doing great. You're doing great. Don't overthink it. So as you are interacting with him, and he asks this question, he says, what have you noticed about Commander Josonoman? You can just ever so slightly, as though you are... So you know those like you take like the colored pencils and you draw a bunch of random colors and you paint or like draw over it with a black crayon and then you can scratch away the black crayon and make drawings. You used to do that in maybe grade school, at least I did. But imagine you have just barely scratched the surface. You could just see a little bit of color. It is as though your mind, as you maybe reach out and do just a slight probe into it, you just get a brief glimpse, a scratch of emotion. And it is unbridled curiosity bordering on obsession with this question of like where Josonoman is. But as quickly as you sense this kind of unbridled obsession, this unbridled curiosity, it is quickly covered back up as though someone took a black and colored in that bit that you had scratched away. That maybe that Vulcan mental fortitude that the captain mentioned has kicked back in. But again, a Vulcan his defenses shouldn't lower like that. But then he proceeds on. Go ahead, please, Commander.
Do I think that he allowed me that glimpse, or
you're not sure? But okay. That is that's an intriguing question. He does continue, though. Commander, I respect your hesitation in providing insight into the medical status of one of your fellow commanders, but and he stops for a moment, and you can see he's hesitating with where to go with this. It's like he wants to say something, but he stops.
She'll lean forward just a little bit, kind of as an invitation to, like, spill the tea.
I'm not the only one aboard this vessel with secrets. am I, Commander?
I suppose every officer is entitled to keep their own. It is not, as long as it doesn't interfere with anyone's work. But may I ask you a question?
He leans even a little bit closer across the table. There's just inches between the two of you. You are locked eye to eye. Of course, Commander.
Why the fixation on Commander Josonoman? We have other officers who encountered other black boxes.
But no
Why
officers,
Josonoman in particular?
But no officers, Commander, that interacted with it in such a way that he did. He and the black box are now, it would appear, one in the same. I'm curious, Commander, has he made any mention of any, I suppose, artistic or... And he brings his hand up to his face, that reaches down, grabbing onto the hot cocoa, which he brings up and then draws in a deep breath through his nose, just kind of smelling the hot cocoa. Any odd phrases or references to art and literature?
If he has done so, it has not been in my presence.
Is
there any particular art or phrase you are searching for?
His eyebrow raises, kind of like that Spock-like eyebrow raise. No, Commander. Simply asking questions. But I'm sure you didn't come to me here today to have me probe you with questions of my own. I can tell from from the look upon your face, you have more questions for me. How might I be of assistance to you, Commander?
Oh, she knows he's lying. When we first spoke in the holodeck, you also began to, shall I say, take an interest in my person? What were you looking for, Ambassador?
Nothing of great importance. Simply curious as to how one such as yourself would achieve such greatness.
Such greatness.
A first officer aboard a respectable starship, that is a mighty ladder to climb for one such as yourself.
Hang on. Sorry, guys.
Don't be sorry.
Now I've lost the track.
He's trying to fluster Commander Mitchell a little bit
it's
here.
working.
And it's working, which is interesting.
Well, it's working for C4A. I'm
That's
sure
all right.
she's fine, but inside I'm like...
We'll see. We'll see. It's okay. It's okay. Take your time, C4A.
Oh, that's my dog. I was like, what the heck is that? We will counter with as an officer of Starfleet, I have put in the work that has required me to attain this status. Admittedly, I reached this rank faster than other officers could, but that is beside the point.
No, Commander, that is precisely the point. Is it fair for one such as yourself to achieve such greatness when you had a bit more of an advantage than those around you. And he leans in on that word advantage. And it feels like a knife being brandished. It feels like, Commander Mitchell, it feels like a warning, perhaps even bordering on a threat. But the diplomat, he is calm, he is cool, he is collected. He holds the cup of cocoa right near his face, just below the chin. You can see the steam rising in front of him, almost like a smoky kind of mirage. And he just stares at you unblinkingly as he makes this comment to you.
What I need is a distraction so I can like try to cut my way in. Outwardly, she will appear unfazed as well, perhaps slightly, dare I say, clueless. But inside, she's just like, "Oh my god, how the fuck did he? What it? And I mean, I guess I would like to again try to access deeper thoughts while we're here.
I'm going to have you make a presence and command. Difficulty of 4.
Okay.
You do have determination and momentum and threats.
Yeah, let's use it all.
All right, so if you use your determination, you would get 2 successes automatically.
You said command. No, what was it?
Presence and command.
And you also have bold command as a talent.
I know. And
I got you.
So I'm still rolling 2 dice, even though I have 2 automatic successes.
Correct.
Okay.
Unless you buy more with momentum and threat as well.
And momentum is I only get 1 per session.
Momentum is a part of a group pool that builds as we get extra successes. So we started the session with 2. You can use 1 to buy an extra die, but it raises. So each extra die that you purchase in that pool of d20s that you're rolling. Sorry, I should let you explain this.
You're doing great, Captain Hagen. No, you're the captain.
Somebody tell me what to do.
That's great. You're doing great. No.
So one of the core mechanics here for Star Trek Adventures and all the 2d20 role-playing games is that pool of momentum that you generate.
I got momentum and determination mixed up. Okay.
Sure. So you have that point of
Determination's 1 per game. Yeah.
That's what it, okay.
Unless you challenge a value and get extra ones.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Do we have momentum still?
We have 1 momentum, and you can also give the GM threat to roll additional die as well.
I'm using that momentum. Y'all, I want to know what he has to say. So that gives me 3 die.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know math. I'm just here.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
What is me up? Get out of my head!
Investigative tech. Oh my god. Investigative techniques.
Yes.
As a focus.
Absolutely.
Boom. Yes. And take it.
Whoa.
Holy schmolians. That is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 successes, netting you 3 total momentum. There is a moment, Commander Mitchell, where you start to probe into this Vulcan's mind, and you feel that resistance. His eyes unblinkingly lock on yours, your eyes unblinkingly lock on his. And he narrows them for a moment, you narrow them for a moment, and you can tell he knows what you're doing. But as that moment passes, you feel the walls fall before you. They give way. You don't break through them, they give way. And what you see inside of his mind is a white, wide open space filled with pulsating light. It is 1 light, 2 light, 3 lights, 4 lights. It's just kind of blinking over and over and over. And as you start to try and focus on the lights, you cannot tell how many lights you see. But you do hear the Vulcan's voice. You hear his voice in your mind, but it is darker and a little deeper. And it says, how many lights do you see? And Commander Mitchell, I'm going to spend some threat. And your scene is going to come to an abrupt end. And when you awaken, you're going to find yourself in the medical bay.
Oh.
But we're going to end that scene there. And we're going to pivot over to, I believe, Commander Velia. You had a desire to do some investigations into... Well, what would you like to investigate, Commander Velia?
Well, Velia was directed to investigate the Miranda class and its relation to the Prometheus.
I love it. I love it. So you've got a
Which,
little...
if I
Yeah.
recall, Prometheus was the other ship and the Miranda was the section put on the ship.
100% correct, Commander
Okay.
Velia. Yep. So you've got yourself a nice little office where you can do research and whatnot. You know, you've got some books and things, maybe some chairs in front. I've given you your own personal office, which is wonderful. By the way, Commander Mitchell, when you wake up, you're gonna have a horrible headache. I'm talking horrible headache.
That sounds
Also,
about right.
you don't know how many lights you saw. Maybe it was 4, maybe it was 5. You're not sure. You're not sure.
Gotcha.
But Commander Velia, you are in your office. You are doing this research. What specifically, Commander Velia, are you looking into?
I guess I don't know. Was Josonoman and the captain going to be here, or was it just a Velia thing?
I can be. I want to do research on.
I love it. I'd love for you both to be there.
I think at least Josonoman should be
I
there.
would love
'cause
you both to
Josonoman
be
is
there. I'd love to have
science.
more than one person in the scene. I think that'd be great. Would Commander Rin want to be there as well? Would he have anything to add to this?
I don't think he would.
Okay.
Temporal mechanics weren't exactly his thing in the academy.
Okay. No worries. No worries.
He just wants to fix the section of the
I
ship.
just
He
want to
doesn't care
give you.
what's
I want to
there.
give you some scenes. I feel like I haven't given you a lot of scenes here today. I just want to make sure you're involved. That's all. I
He
offer.
could take his science officer, his supporting officer.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Why don't you bring your science officer in? That'd be great.
I'm good on sitting this one out for right now.
Okay. No worries. I offer. I want to make sure everyone's involved. So we open our scene here with the two of you sitting there. Josonoman, you've just had one of your fits, and this time you were talking about... It was odd. You were talking about how many lights you saw. It was a strange thing. You kept saying 3, no 4, no 5, no 3, no 4, no 5, 3 and 3 and 3 again, never to begin, never to end, just 3 and 3 again. You just say this thing over and over again. And then you come back to yourself, and Velia, you just saw him have a fit. It only lasted for about 5 seconds, but he's fine now.
Are you back?
Yeah, I'm good. Let's get to work.
All right. So we have the Prometheus, and she's gonna pull up those scans that Mitchell did when Mitchell was on the bridge about everything that we got from the Prometheus. And then, did we get much about the Miranda hologram? Do we have much to, like,
Mirandagram,
go-
as it were.
Yes, that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, the Mirandagram.
So-
Was it a process or was it an Instagram?
You have all the internal ships. I hate you all. No, that's funny. You have all of the internal ship sensors, all the readings, and what's interesting is that it was legitimately as though it was carved into your ship. That was a Miranda class deck that was inserted into your Steamrunner class vessel. And you have all those readings from the internal sensors.
We have the readings of when that happened.
So theirs where things get a little dicey.
Okay.
There's some chronoton and temporal particles that are kind of messing with the timeline there. But you could do a little research and try to work through this. Josonoman could help, obviously, to try to pinpoint when it was put into the ship. Because on paper, let me put it this way, on paper, on the baseline of what you see, that section of the ship was there since the ship launched after refit. But I know a certain chief engineer that would swear that that was wrong, because he looked over every bit of this ship before it left. But that's what all the internal sensors say. But there's gotta be a problem. There's gotta be something to this, right? So that's what you're trying to identify. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's one of the things for sure.
Okay, perfect. We can start there with, well, how would you like to begin investigating it? What would your
I have a question that I don't know that there is an answer for, which is, how does the ship's internal chronometer measure, and what is it measuring, and would it be able to tell us like a specific date that is corresponding to the date that we have as what today is? And are we still working?
Short answer, yes. Long answer, I have no idea how it works personally. Not up to speed on that. But yes, you do have an internal chronometer that would tell you what the day is. Everything seems legit with that. Seems to say that you left, a couple weeks ago, you're here, that all seems legit. You yourselves don't appear to be out of time.
Would it be possible for me to use the internal chronometer to analyze the areas of the ship that are from the other ship, the merged areas, and maybe like siphon the readings from a tricorder towards the internal chronometer to try and get what it says?
Absolutely.
Okay,
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Commander Velia, how would you like to help?
What role?
That's a good fucking question. So he's checking the timestamps, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what I'm doing, yeah. And I have a theory about what it's going to correspond to, but I need to confirm.
What, do you? I'm curious what this theory is.
Gotta find out first, I guess. Velia could help by, I don't know, just being like a second eye, kind of looking for the things that, like...
Why don't you give an insight security as an assistance? You're going to do a reason and science, Commander Josonoman. Difficulty of 3.
Starfleet operations as a focus?
No, not going to give you that one. That's a stretch. Okay. That's a stretch Starfleet strong, and that's not going to work.
Okay, I'll just roll then.
I have theoretical and experimental physics. Would that be an applicable focus?
I will allow it.
It's not specifically chronological.
We'll stretch that one. Ooh, that's only one. That's only one. Oh boy.
It's 2.
So you got 2 successes. So here's what I'll tell you. If you want to give me a threat, 2 threat, I'll let you succeed at cost.
Sure. I'm not going to give you that to you because I'm going to ask a question that I believe I'm allowed to ask because I'm using ship sensors.
Only when you succeed.
Only when you succeed.
Only when I succeed.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the difficulty on that roll, by the way?
3.
Okay.
Yeah. The momentum being spent on the Vulcan was more important though. So
you got it.
You have 3 momentum 3 right now. So if you wanna roll an extra die saying you spent a momentum, I'm totally cool with that.
I'll take 1.
Yeah, roll an extra die then. Let's see what happens.
Because we're close.
I believe.
How do I roll just the 1?
Well,
just
when you select the drop down and it says like 1d20 or 2d20, you just select 1d20.
All right, reason science.
Yeah. With a focus. Come on, you can do. Yes, there it is. All right, there we go. Coming through in the clutch. Go ahead and just spend that momentum. Thank you, Matthew. So here's the good news. You figure out what the hell's going on. This section of the ship, it appears to have been implanted right around the exact same time that these black boxes showed up. So it's all within the past, say, 72 hours, all of this stuff happened. Okay? The other information you were trying to figure out where it was from, the chronological or the temporal readings from that Miranda class coincide with the Dominion War, the same time period as what you've discovered that ship was from as well.
Which was my theory, but I needed to confirm it.
Yep.
Before I do anything else, I need to research what was going on those star dates in the Dominion War, and it's not going to be a quick answer because I'm sure a lot was going on, but I need to do some historical. So
here's the thing. There's one very important thing that happened during that particular 4 or 5 days, that week or so. There was a massive multi-day battle that took place on the Cardassian and Federation border. The most number of ships on both sides were lost in this battle. I'm talking thousands of lives. Perhaps even tens of thousands of lives were lost. All different manners of ships, all different manners of staff. Both sides took the heaviest losses of the entire war during this particular battle.
I think I need to do a boring thing now. Unfortunately, I need to go through the logs of the survivors to see if there were unusual circumstances or unusual phenomena observed, focusing specifically on any survivors from Miranda class ships.
Interesting. I like where your mind's at. Commander Velia, what are your thoughts on this situation?
While he's doing that, I think she'll shift to researching the Prometheus. Trying to see if that's from the same time, looking at if we can tell where they're from, if they're from now, from then, maybe what kind of technology they have. They have a DeLorean on their ship somewhere.
A DeLorean? Maybe. I don't know. It's possible.
So,
short answer is that Prometheus ship does not come up on any records. It doesn't exist. That's your short answer. It is a ship out of time. There's no record of its, ship number, its registry number, anything. The name of the ship, it doesn't exist. So maybe that means it's from the future. Maybe that means that it was a secret vessel. But if it was a secret vessel, it might be the Bastet. It's possible. What a twist that would be. But it doesn't seem to exist. All right. The one thing, though, that does ping, and it's Josonoman is starting to do his research into what ships may have survived, survivors, Miranda. There's 2 names that pop up in both of your research. The 2 names are Darius Locke, and Eva Cole. Darius Locke and Eva Cole. Those are the 2 names that pop up. And what's interesting is the only vessel on the Federation side to survive completely undamaged during that entire encounter where multiple ships were lost, multiple ships were damaged, lives, the only ship, and it is as though it was a literal miracle that ship came out of there unhinged, undamaged, unharmed, was the ship that Captain Eva Cole was piloting. And her husband, Commander Darius Locke at that time, was also on board that vessel. But, based on the data and the research and the logs, he wasn't supposed to be there. It was a last-minute transfer. So do with that information as you will.
Can I pull up their profiles?
Yeah, absolutely. Highly decorated. Commander Darius Locke is now an admiral, apparently. But Admiral Darius Locke actually passed away several years ago. About a year ago, actually, he passed away. And Captain Eva Cole apparently died in the line of duty roughly a year ago as well. Interesting.
just following a hunch here, they don't happen to be a human and an Andorian, do they?
No, they're both humans,
Okay.
actually.
Just
They're both
double
humans.
checking that.
Yeah, no, that's a great line of thought. They're 2 humans. They do,
But she's
however...
a redhead, right?
She is, yeah. She's a redhead. They did, however, have a son. Joffrey Locke, who is presumed dead, but also disappeared in the line of duty. You guessed it, roughly a year ago.
I have a question.
I have some answers.
What is the timeline between Mell and Valhalla?
Roughly a year ago.
Okay, all right.
It's all connected.
Comparing just to my memory, is her image pretty close to the woman I saw?
Exact to the woman you saw.
Okay, so we have a confirmed identity.
Correct.
Or at least we have a confirmed visage. We don't know if it's the real one, but we know who they're at least.
I mean, which one was the real one? There's so many of them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I still like my theory that potentially it's just like octuplets. There's just a lot of them.
That's the one I'm going with personally.
My most unhinged theory, but I had to posit it as possible.
I love it.
And we found like tons of chronotons on these things, right?
Oh, a plethora.
Yeah. Well, one could surmise that this seemingly miracle of a feat of this ship surviving is not so much a miracle, but a plan of temporal origins. Purpose, keep family alive? He was that Darius was transferred on that ship last minute to be with EU Cole.
For a ship to have come out of that battle, although my knowledge of the Dominion War is limited, I joined after it ended. For a ship to have come out of that particular battle completely unscathed is statistically impossible. So it is possible that there was some sort of timeline altering activity to prevent the ship from taking damage, which would explain why she would have brought her husband aboard to make sure that his life was preserved, knowing that she was going to do something or work with someone who was going to do something to modify their odds, maybe modify their odds hundreds of thousands of times throughout the course of the battle. That could explain how they got out unscathed. It doesn't explain anything else, though.
No, doesn't explain what they're doing here now. Well, at least Cole, because Darius is dead.
Would a Miranda class vessel have the necessary warp core to be able to do that type of temporal screwing around, or would have had to have been heavily modified?
Heavily modified.
Who was the chief engineer on that ship?
Oh, that's a great question. It was an Andorian named A-Rob.
I'm feeling good about my questions today.
You're doing a great job. Hey, you're doing a great job.
So on point.
You're so on point.
So yeah, I'll pull up his profile, I suppose.
Hey, I don't know if the captain described the Andorian he saw, or maybe the Commander Mitchell did, but guess what? That Andorian? Spitting image.
I think we have some answers to bring to the captain, although I'm not sure where we're going from here, but this is certainly worth noting.
Definitely.
And unless there's anything else, I think that's a great moment.
She's just gonna send off a ping to the captain, like kind of very brief summary of what they've discovered, and just like we could have this discussion in depth later.
Yeah. This is we got one. I need to go. I need to call someone.
We got a thing. And I think this is a great moment to, as you get this ping, the chief science officer walks into the conference room where the captain is waiting for him. And we're just going to pivot over to the conference room because if I understand, the captain and the chief engineer wanted to have a quick conversation, as it were.
As like before the chief engineer comes in, there is one thing that the captain would like to look into, if possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
So she's actually just seated at her desk reviewing personnel files. And what I'd like to do is actually investigate the potential tie between, or the similarities between, or confluence in records between all the crew members that we lost. You'd mentioned when I first tried to do that, I didn't really have time. But now that there's a little bit of the opportunity to do so.
Yeah. So you get some information about this Miranda class vessel that, and I think it'd be prudent to have you get the information from Josonoman and Velia first, and then you can start to cross-reference this information with, what's going on with them. So what specifically are you looking into with regards to this, the crew, the missing section, etc.? What specifically are you looking into?
Is there any commonality in their respective service records that would, were they all serving on board that Miranda?
So here's the thing. They themselves don't appear to have been serving aboard that Miranda, but everyone that vanished from your ship seems to have, within a 5% variance, very similar records, very similar, like the same species, the same, like if you were to take a mirror and it was slightly smudged so you didn't quite look like yourself, that's the similarities you're seeing between the crew that's missing and the crew that was aboard that Miranda. It's like they were looking for close enough when it comes to replacements, is the feeling that you're getting. Does that make sense? Am I being clear enough?
Yes, it's almost like taking me and my brother. We're both 6'2". We both have green eyes.
Yes.
We're almost identical in terms of that, but even beyond that, so they're almost duplicates.
Correct.
Okay.
But not quite. Almost.
Yeah. Yes, as close as you could find.
Yeah.
For reasonable facsimiles of someone.
Correct.
Can I track down any people from that Miranda class vessel that are still in Starfleet and are alive? Where do those crew members go?
All of their trails end in missing in action, dead, died, went to here, anomaly, exploded, whatever. All of them are dead. Not a single living crew member exists from that Miranda vessel.
And looking at them and their medical records, do I notice any discrepancies in the records, or do I notice the records themselves, and this perhaps could be sent off to our intelligence agent who would be more capable of investigating that?
Yeah.
Does it look like the records have been doctored?
Yes.
Because there's some...
100%. The records are too perfect that they're probably been doctored. 100%. Yeah. All of their records seem to have been doctored.
You probably would have sent that to her and she would have gotten back to you like 10 seconds later. These are fake.
These are fake. Yeah. And Velia, you had a question. I just want to quickly go over there. You had a question that you had sent back to Starfleet Intelligence, and my brain just skipped for a moment. What was the specific question about that you wanted a response from Starfleet? I know it was something about the Admiral.
It was about the message from the Admiral.
Yes.
And that it only reached us, and then war started, but
So their responses sounds like a trap, but they encourage you to investigate it. As long as the ship is capable. They want more information. You're their closest to the front line. They want to know exactly what's going on there.
Regardless of our missing Deck 7.
Correct. If they said if the ship is capable and functional, that you should go. If the ship is in danger, then you should come back. But as long as it's functional and you can make headway, they encourage you to go and to tell the captain to do so. Not that you can
Velia
order
would
him,
have passed
but
that report on to the captain.
Perfect. Any other questions, Captain Hagen?
Not that I can think of at this juncture, no.
So with that, you get that last message from Commander Velia. Commander Rin, you walk into the break room, or not the break room, the conference room. The captain's at her desk. Take it away.
Just looks up. Commander, you Want to speak with me?
Yes. Have you made a decision on how to proceed?
Starfleet believes that we should investigate the source of this potentially falsified distress call. We're going to be making our way through the spatial anomalies that we've detected to try to conceal our approach, and hopefully you'll be able to modify some probes, shuttlecraft, to extend our sensor range.
I still feel I need to advise against that. Just, it seems too convenient.
I don't think anything about this situation has been particularly convenient for us, Commander, but I take your meaning. This, as we've already established, is clearly a trap.
I have an alternative course of action if you'd like to hear it.
I'm always open to non-standard solutions, Commander. I'd be happy to entertain it.
I think instead of investigating this almost certain trap, I think we should divert for Starbase 24 instead. The fact that they've gone radio silent, no distress call from there, yet supposedly there was one that only we intercepted from the Admiral. I think they're trying to draw attention away from radio silence, away from the Starbase.
Nothing about this has really made sense when it comes to Klingon tactical doctrine. They wouldn't use a ruse per se, wouldn't use falsified distress signals.
Now, this seems far more Romulan in nature than Klingon.
My thoughts exactly. If they wanted to divert us, bringing us away from Starbase 24 would be a reasonable thing to do, as would staging a conflict between the Federation and the Klingons, something the Romulans have tried to do innumerable times in the past.
I've lived through several of those attempts.
Do you have any insights, Commander? I'd be happy to hear them.
Unfortunately not. I've never really been in a rank position where my insights at the time were much of use.
First time for both of us then, I suppose.
It seems that way. Plus, I remember Starbase 24 has a pretty extensive dry dock facility. We should be able to fully repair ourselves there if we're able to figure out what's happening.
And again, she just sort of looks out at space. It just doesn't sit right with me. Even if there's the slightest possibility that the Admiral's distress signal could be genuine. Either way, we don't know what happened to her fleet.
Also, look at it, I suppose, in this light. The Admiral and her vessel, a Galaxy class, has an upward capacity of 1,500 crew. Starbase 24, we're talking 25,000. With an Admiral stationed there as well.
And she sort of rises from her chair and folds her arms over her chest. Commander, are you trying to argue that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few to me?
Ren actually just kind of stops, looks towards the window for a minute at that one. I was more going for the path that I think would be safer for the ship.
Now, see, that's a better tack to take. Do we have any probe readings, sensor scans of either region? Anything that will let us know or give us some indication as to what we're walking into either way?
We're not close enough right now for our long-range sensors with the degraded capabilities that they have with our missing sections. We'd I'd say have to be about a day closer to get readings in either direction.
Given the damage the ship has suffered, though, a good Class 7 probe should be able to outrun us. They can reach speeds of upwards of warp 9.9.
I can prepare two if we launch them in either direction, take a reading from that, decide.
I'd like you to make it so. Now, since you're so content coming to me about, alternative plans for the operation of this ship, what do you think of our current course heading towards the stellar phenomena, using it as cover?
It's effective. There's been multiple instances where stellar phenomena as such has been used. I hate to say it, as a cloaking device of sorts, but it'll mask our emissions. It should keep us hidden from any sensor scans coming back our direction.
Then I see no reason to deviate from that course.
Neither do I. I believe we arrive within the phenomena and make our choice from there. I believe that would be the most prudent course of action.
Well, Commander, I'm grateful that you came to me with your concerns and your alternatives. Don't stop.
I had one other issue I wanted to get your approval on before I start looking into it.
Go ahead.
You've been given the readings myself and Josonoman have found on that one black box we still have in possession.
I've been receiving reports from both your investigations and those of our other senior officers. I think we're going to have another senior officers meeting in the very near future to compare notes.
The application effects that it seems to provide on output of energy, I want to see if I can figure out a way to harness that.
Not now, Commander. I'm sorry, but if you want to conduct some sort of extended investigation of this unknown material on a ship that's already been gutted, when your duties have to take priority over your curiosity, it's not the right place or the right time.
Understood.
If I could ask you a question, and this is off the record.
Of course.
Are you looking for a distraction? I know what happened to, I suppose I know that we don't know what happened to Lieutenant Commander Cater.
Cater was in the Jeffries tubes on deck 7 of the section that went missing.
It's an officer under your command.
That compound on the top, that for the last year almost, I oversaw the refit of this entire vessel, and within a short time of launch, this has happened to it. And now this information from Starbase 24, I have family there.
Sorry, I didn't know that.
I suppose I am looking for something of a distraction to work on.
Well, you're the chief engineer. I'm certain that you can find something on this ship that needs recalibration and repair, particularly given, and she just like gestures towards the computer screen on her desk, pointing out the massive gaping maw of the missing section of the ship. That.
I don't think I can turn down a hallway currently without finding something that needs work.
You do understand, though, Commander, that this is not on you. Engineers every single day, although I have no expertise in your area, they keep us alive. Your regular maintenance shifts and schedules, your reviews of structural integrity fields, they're the only things that keep us from the darkness of space.
I suppose I know this is nothing on me, but I saw the log reviews. I saw the sensor reports that all of that was there when we left, but I know it wasn't. Just, like I said, I've put the last year and a half of my life into this vessel, and this is what's happened. To be candid, I'm pissed. I'm offended. I am pissed off. This feels like a slight against me by whoever's orchestrated this.
Stay pissed off. Just don't let it affect your duty. Don't let it affect your judgment. If it does, and she taps the side of her head, believe me, I'll be the first to know.
I'll try not to lose any more shuttles.
Do remember this, though, Commander. You're dealing with my area of expertise. Bizarre chronometric phenomenon that have suffused the ship with unknown energies and radiations. You can't be responsible for that.
And at that,
or for predicting it.
I'm going to interject here for a moment. At the mention of Commander Rin saying I'm not going to lose any more shuttles, at the mention of you're in my wheelhouse by the Captain Hagen, there is a chirp on your comm badge, Captain, and it is the acting bridge officer. And I'd say it is... we've got Anzernel Cole. It's your security officer is currently on the bridge, and he says to you that, well, he asks a question, and you're talking to yourself because this is your character, but he asks a question, and he says, Captain, did you authorize the launch of a shuttle?
No, lock it down.
Sir, it's already launched. I can't lock it down.
Catch it in a tractor beam.
Using your security code, sir, our tractor beam is down. You also get another chirp, and it's the medical officer. And this is Chief Medical Officer Clinton. Chief Medical Officer Clinton to Captain Hagen.
Captain here.
Commander Mitchell has just suffered from a stroke. She is currently in the medical bay and is undergoing treatment. Also, have you seen the Diplomat? He brought her in, seemed a little upset.
She taps her comm badge and cuts him off right there.
Yeah.
Bridge, disable that shuttle.
And at the mention of bridge, disable that shuttle. You get a response back from the bridge. I spend all of my remaining threat. And that shuttle enters warp before you can get it and heads off in the direction of Starbase 24.
Helm, plane a pursuit course.
Aye, aye, Captain. And with that, I think that is actually a fantastic moment to end this night's episode. Great job, everybody. That was wonderful. I know, Commander Vela, you wanted to have one little moment, right? You wanted to have one moment? Okay, you're muted. Yes. Yes.
I do want one more little moment.
Okay. So as Captain,
sort of like
let's do this. Let's do
epilogue.
this. So epilogue, so like the credits roll, and then it does like that post-credit scene, and we see Commander Rin walking down a hallway. In fact, I have a hallway. We have that classic hallway we've been using for everything. We've already got Velia on that hallway. And I'm just going to bring Vin. You bump into Commander Velia walking down the hallway. And take it away, my friends.
Commander Rin, I wanted to personally inquire on your research of the black box that you conducted. How did that go? Did you find out much?
Just from what Commander Josonoman and I have figured out of it being an extra galactic of an origin, apparently. I haven't had much time to investigate much more than that.
You haven't? It's been a couple days. I know your hands are full with the repair of Deck 7. Were you not authorized to research the box anymore?
It's been on the back burner. I've been trying to make sure we have enough power to keep the ship operational.
Right. Well, if you have free time you need to spend, I would move that to the front burner. Consider it that you have my authority. And she'll walk away.
I think Rin's just going to stand there, nod his head a little bit, and heads towards one of the engineering labs where it's been kept in quarantine.
And then boom, last credits roll. Boom, done. Great job, everyone, tonight. That was so wonderful to see all of you interacting. There were some beautiful character moments. I want to compliment Matthew on just some of the questions you were asking, some of the crew members. You really helped foster some really cool character interactions, so thank you for that. C4A, I thought you did a great job in your scene. I know I got you I kind of got you a few times there, but it's okay. It's totally fine. Keep practicing, and I think you did a great job. Josonoman, hilarious as always. I loved your opening log. Velia, that last scene, crazy. And Commander Rin, I don't know if that was already in your backstory with having family at Starbase 24, but I love that. Absolutely love that. I think that is brilliant. And I love that that's where the session is going to head next session. Also, Commander Mitchell, super sorry about the stroke, but you'll get over it. It's the future.
That's the captain's fault.
The small things.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Also, I spent all my threat because that guy got away. So there you go. That is what it is. Or whoever it was. Maybe it wasn't the Diplomat. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It is what it is. But great job, everyone. Thank you so much. Any final thoughts, questions, comments, or concerns before we wrap up today's episode?
No.
You guys did great. Thank you. It's always a pleasure. Well, as I always say at the end of every session, thank you to the players for playing, truly. Thank you to the viewers for viewing. Happy gaming, everybody. We'll catch you next Sunday, same game time, same game place for episode 4. We're on a roll. It's fantastic. I believe we're heading off to Starbase 24, which will be a spooky mystery, as it were, is what I'll say, a spooky mystery. But until then, be well, be safe, and again, happy gaming. Good night.